Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Good morning. It is Monday, the start of a brand new week, and we are ready to go, pumped up, and ready to have the most fantastic week ever. Did have my girls' weekend. Over the weekend, it was a fun and fabulous time. These are a group of ladies that are just the best. I love them so much. We had gotten together, and Ronnie, Joe's cousin, my cousin, bought a kit from My Intent. I've talked about My Intent before because I have a bracelet from My Intent. It's such a cool concept. You come up with a word, and predominantly they sell these little bracelets. It looks like a little washer that you would put like a nut and bolt, like, you know, a little washer that you would use, and you put your word on it. You order it from them. And the first bracelet that I had gotten said, "Right now," WRITE, now, because I wanted to pursue more of my writing. And it was a constant reminder to do more writing and to write right now. So it was kind of a double meaning. I'm so clever, aren't I? So that was my bracelet that I had gotten. And Ronnie purchased the kit to make them ourselves. I shouldn't say make them ourselves because she made them all. I don't know if that was her intent. She probably intended to have everybody make their own, but we all kind of just depended on her to make them. And frankly, I don't know if I would have done nearly as good as a job that she did. Now, she bought all of these different options to put the word that you chose on. And one of them was this little, it's just like a little metal block. It's not even a block. It's like a rectangular, it's long. And I thought, oh, it'd be great if I could put Hopefulist on it because I am the Hopefulist. It didn't look like we were going to be able to fit that on. So we put hopeful on the one side, and then she put list on the other side. So Hopefulist. And I love it. It is so awesome. I actually have a picture of it up on the Hopefulist page. I posted it yesterday. And then she bought all these little embellishments and stuff to add to it. And I put a starfish on one side because I love me some starfish, and then an anchor on the other side. And it looks really cool. I love, love, love it. And I cannot thank Ronnie enough for hooking me up because I just love these words. Again, My Intent. If you want to check it out, they're online, My Intent. And this is my second one now. Now, my cousin Dawn had a bracelet as well. She just finished a battle with breast cancer, came out big-time survivor. Woo, woo! Great news. And she has her word as cancer-free. But she sprung for the really fancy bracelet. And I was looking at hers, and I was like, maybe I'll order another one and get the really fancy fastener. Because mine's just kind of like twine, and it looks cool, but the edges, like the end, they just kind of flap around. Since it's twine, it's like a twine. It doesn't really, it kind of, hers is a leather one, so it has these balls at the end of it, and it just kind of hangs down, and it looks cool. Mine they just kind of stick out, so I try to wrap them around the bracelet part that's on my actual wrist. We'll see. But I do really love this company. I think it's a great reminder to have this on your wrist, neck, what have you. And it's just a constant reminder of your goal or who you want to be or what you want to celebrate. So come up with a word and consider it. I think it's a really great way to keep you motivated. Some news that I wanted to talk about this morning. Apparently, iTunes, as we know it, will cease to exist. There is a big conference this week, and Apple will be announcing that they are coming out with 3 separate apps for music, TV, and podcasts, and that will replace iTunes. Apple is looking to reposition itself as an entertainment service rather than a hardware company powered by products such as the iPhone. So they want to do everything. And the move is expected to be part of a keynote address by Tim Cook at the conference taking place this week. It starts today. So no more iTunes. Now, I'm sure it's not going to cease to exist tomorrow, but this is something that can really affect everybody. It's one-stop shopping will no longer be the case. It kind of affects me as well, where, you can get your version of the podcast, and it actually does go through more of the Apple Podcast than iTunes. Excuse me. So I'm already in, the podcast realm and categorized under that. So I guess maybe it won't change too much, but yeah, it's kind of making it, in my opinion, a little bit more inconvenient just because now you have to go to a bunch of different places. But again, they want to get away from being, Apple is available for your iPad and your iPhone and just go there for whatever you need, to more of a, I don't know, what could we compare it to? I just want to be an entertainment company where, I guess like a Comcast, where if you go into the on-demand or whatever, you can go to different categories and, pick what you want: movies, television shows, music. I'm guessing that's their goal. And we'll see. We got to roll with the changes because they're going to do what they're going to do. We found that out when it comes to Facebook. Remember when Facebook started making all those changes and we used to complain constantly, stop with the changes, leave it alone. And they didn't. They didn't listen to us. They did what they wanted because, again, free service. It's free. We don't have to pay for it. And a lot of the changes have been good. Now we're kind of embracing them a little bit more. And, you just got to roll with it. And that's okay. Facebook, that is how I believe they are still relevant. They have not gone by way of MySpace or a lot of the other types of fly-by-night, services that we once had that now are no longer, if they're still in existence, aren't really relevant anymore. So Facebook's still totally relevant. Everybody's still loving Facebook. So we'll see. We'll see how this iTunes thing works out. If they're going to, go the way of, well, I don't think that Apple's ever going to be irrelevant, honestly. My brother calls us iFollowers. iSheep, I think he calls us, because we just follow Apple. Hey, you know what? They've got a good product. I like it. I did not start out with an iPhone. I started out with the Droids, but I had an iPad, and, just the cloud and everything merging and meshing together. It was just easier. And I honestly love my iPhone. Love my iPhone. Love my iPad. I see people with their Galaxies and such, and I know people love them. And if that was my phone, maybe I would love it. But I love my iPhone, and I see no reason to change. So back to Girls Weekend for just a little bit. I am an early bird. I get up extremely early, regardless of what time I go to bed. Now, I was up until after midnight on Friday night. Very rare for me. And the way my aunt works it is first come, first serve when it comes to the bedrooms. So I took the little back bedroom that has 2 single beds, and I just, said I want to sleep back here, share the room with somebody else, because then a lot of people were sleeping in the living room. I thought it was a little ironic that Marianne ended up sleeping in her queen-size bed by herself. Her sister, Sue, ended up sleeping in the full-size bed in the first guest room by herself. I have to sneeze. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then people were sprawled out on the couch. They brought cots. I just thought it was funny that the biggest beds had one person in them. But I usually get up first, but I usually go to bed first too. I had gotten up on Saturday morning, probably about 2 hours before everybody else. So I tried to be as quiet as could be. I made the coffee the night before, so I just had to push the button. So I got up, made the coffee, grabbed my cup of coffee, went outside with my Kindle, and just sat out on the porch and read a little bit. And luckily, the weather was nice. It was warm. It was a little overcast, but it was certainly pleasant enough to sit outside. So that's what I did. So when everybody started finally getting up, I was talking to Joanna, and she said, since you are the first one up, maybe you should sleep in the living room. And I was like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I should. And then the more I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm usually the first one to bed. That's why I sleep in one of the rooms. That's why I always try to get one of the rooms. And I'm like, so that won't work. But yeah, there's definitely a drastic difference between our sleep habits with the people that I was spending time with down the shore. Again, I don't mind. I was perfectly happy sitting outside. As long as I have a good book, I'm good to go. In fact, I really enjoyed my little quiet time alone reading my book, because I'm reading a really good book right now, The Immortalist, really good book. So when everybody started getting up, they're like, even then they were complaining, oh, it's so early. It's so early. I'm like, it's like 8:30. What are you talking about so early? I had been up since like 5:30 or 6 or something. So it got me to thinking, are you an early bird or are you a night owl? So I got some opinions of this on our Facebook page. And Jim says, I'm a night owl. I definitely know he's a night owl. He says, if I didn't have to get up till noon, I wouldn't. However, I don't remember the last time I was able to do that. Sharon says early bird. Marianne says both. When I first started seeing a couple people saying both, I said to Joe, I'm like, how can you be both? He said, well, probably during the week they're early birds and then they sleep in on the weekends. I'm like, that must be it. Laurie says night owl. Wendy says night owl. Trish says both. Veronica said totally a night owl. I responded to her, yes, I know, because she's one of the girls. That was a girls' weekend. Lorraine, early bird. Wilbur says a bit of both, I guess. I'm an early owl. There you go. That's compromise for you. Mandy, Gail, Diane, you all say early bird. Martin says, I used to be an all-nighter. Now I'm an in-betweener. Okay. Eleanor and Joseph, my hubby, both early birds. And then, yes, here's the explanation. Marcy says early bird during the week, night owl on the weekends. That throws my body clock off too much. If I stay up too late on the weekends, like I said, I get up early anyway, and I just lack sleep. Kelly says early bird. Christine, night owl. And Ashley says she's an early bird, but her partner is a night owl. So that makes things difficult at times. Yeah, I can imagine it would. So it's always funny when you mesh the two together. Same thing with my cousin, who said he loves to sleep until noon, although he doesn't get to do it very often. My cousin lives in Pennsylvania, so often when my husband and I have to go to Pennsylvania for an overnight trip, we stay at my cousin's house, and I'm always like, do you want to get up and go to breakfast? Do you want to sleep in? We can just go home. Not a big deal. He's like, no, I'll get up and go to breakfast. Then when we listen to his alarm clock go off about 5 times of hitting the snooze button, when finally I get frustrated and I walk in his bedroom, I'm like, are you getting up or what? Because we'll leave. No, I'm getting up. I don't care if you want to sleep in. That's perfectly fine with me. I'll just go get my own breakfast. But yeah, it's always funny when the two worlds collide, because that's also a problem when Joe and I have guests, because it's not a problem if we just have like another couple, say, because we put them in the guest room and they can close the door and we can get up at our 5 a.m. crazy hour on the weekend like we normally do and not disturb them. But oftentimes we'll have more than one couple, or people who want to spread out a little bit or whatever. Even one of our last guests, we set up the pull-out couch because her husband snores really bad. She's like, I usually have to move at some point in the night. So when we got up the next morning, she was on the pull-out sofa, and we tried to tiptoe around her. And yeah, so it's tough. It's tough when you're trying to, have everybody come together, but everybody's so different. But usually you can make it work. A little bit of compromise, a little bit of courtesy is always good, and it all works out. So I'm going to go on to my blog post for the day. I thought this week I would talk about behaviors and habits that are not serving you well. habits and behaviors that we need to get rid of.